guys and girls, and welcome to episode 70 of the FReality Podcast. This is a weekly VR, AR, and MR talk show live streamed every Saturday on YouTube, Facebook, and on Twitch. You can tune into the show live at 7 p.m. in Europe, 6 p.m. in the UK, and 12 midday in Central US. You can also check out the audio version, which is available on iTunes, SoundCloud, and on Anchor. If you enjoy the show, please subscribe to our YouTube channel and leave us a review on iTunes. If you have any questions, comments, or feedback during the show, please put them in the chat and we'll try to answer as many questions as we can. This is our first podcast of 2019, so Happy New Year to everyone, and welcome and thank you for joining us live for those of you in the chat. It's time now to assemble the Guardians of the Metaverse. Let me introduce you to the team. First up, this guy will always have your back, whether you're hunting pirates or fending off aliens. Just don't let him loose with any grenades, for God's sake. It is, of course, ZimTalk5. How you doing, man? You all right?
Hey, I'm good, Mike. I feel like for the last 3 weeks in a row, I've said I've had a rough week. This was the roughest of the weeks.
It can't be, surely.
Yeah, I won't go into detail. We'll keep it a happy start to the new year. So,
it's the worst week of the year.
What, the beginning of the year is the worst week of the year?
Well, it can only get better from here. If you've had a bad first week, then it can only get better. That's like the positive
exactly.
mindset.
You know how after how like after the weeks I've had, it can only get better. Unless someone runs me over like with an ice cream truck, because that's like twofolds bad, right?
You get free ice cream maybe while you're waiting for the ambulance to arrive. So there's always a silver cloud, Tim. Trust me.
All right, I'll be
hang on
looking
in there,
out for
buddy. Yeah. Prayers in the chat for Zim, please. Hope you're all enjoying the chat so far. So let me introduce you to the next one. This week he's been cooking up a storm by opening his own burger bar. I don't know if the world is quite ready yet for the Rowdy Burger or the Big Rowdy or the Rowdy Nugget. It is, of course, the Rowdy Guy. How are you?
I'm good. Happy New Year, everyone. Yeah, I started the new year with the new burger bar, and the world's fastest YouTuber should really not work in a burger bar. More on that later. More on that later.
The world's fastest fast food restaurant. Then it didn't work out that way.
Not really. Okay.
Well, I look forward to hearing all about that. Next up, they say Jamiroquai based his famous hit song on this next guy. Living in virtual insanity is, of course, Nathy. How you doing, man? You all right?
Yeah. Thanks for the insane introduction. You know?
Hey, that's a good song. That's a really good song.
That's even better
song.
Music video. That is an amazing music
exactly.
video, and how they shot it. It's like one of those Old Spice ads where like 16 things are happening at once.
Okay, but you know what? I'm the definition of insanity. That's what I am. I stole it from Far Cry, but Happy New Year to you guys as well, of course. I mean,
thank you, man.
It's been crazy, right? Have you seen like Rowdy his like rum stash? I don't know, but it's pretty well.
More on that later too.
What the hell is a rump stash? That sounds like you've taken a bunch of roasts and chucked them in the corner.
Rum.
Zim.
Rum. I know you're a bit like it's been a while maybe, but
everyone is drunk.
Try to keep it down there.
Rum stash. So it's
rum
drink. What's your favorite mixer with it, Rowdy? What do you have with it? Or do you just drink neat?
Just 100%.
Don't even pour it in a glass.
Inject it in my veins, don't do all that crap. Going through my. You could get throat cancer from that, so inject it directly in my veins.
You're like that guy from Kevin and Perry Go Large. You just drink it through your eye, eyeball pour.
Rowdy has like a rum helmet, with two bottles on the sides.
Exactly.
We digress. So if you don't know who I am, I'm Mike, host of the show from Virtual Reality Oasis. This week, we're going to be giving you a one-way ticket aboard the hype train as we give you the rundown on what to look forward to in VR in 2019. So make sure you stay tuned to the end for that one. We're also going to be giving you the latest game releases for next week. We're going to be talking about one of the scariest games of all time, which is, of course, PT, which is now coming to VR. And we're also going to be talking about the Oto Tech Headband, which is a device that claims to cure motion sickness. So we've got an interesting show for you today. But first up, let's find out what everyone's been playing and their highlights of the week this week in VR. And of course, up first, stepping up to the plate is Top 5.
Hello. Easy highlight this week for me is although I played a bunch of classics. I mean, Mike and I we jumped into space and played a lot of Firewall and Contractors just to kind of like, it's the holidays. Fucking let your hair down and play something you like to play. But I've been catching up with Astrobot. I haven't beat it yet, and I'm on like World 4. And for anyone who's played it, you'll know what I mean when I say the whale level. But I haven't got through that yesterday. Like that game. You said it really originally, Mike, which is just like the mutation. It goes from kind of level to level to level. It's like reinvents itself so frequently, and it's just such a joy to play. So I don't know. It feels like the perfect game for the holiday season to just kind of play something that's so visually appealing, and at the same time, like I couldn't believe I was in. I won't spoil it, but anyway, it was a whale level.
I totally agree, and it kind of reminds me of that feeling I had when I first played Mario 64 the first time.
Yeah, absolutely.
That pure joy to play game. Everything was kind of exciting. You just wanted to see everything that the game had to offer. Exactly how I feel about Astrobot.
And it's one of those things that, like, with the more modern Mario games, when you're playing them, you're like, how long is this going to take me to beat? Like, I really like it, but it's kind of like looking at a big cake. And you're like, I got to eat the whole thing before it spoils. And it's like, am I going to get through this whole cake? Because like every time I unlock a challenge level in Astrobot, I'm like, am I gonna be able to beat that? I don't know. But it's a good kind of like feeling when that happens. It's kind of like getting to the end of a novel that you really like, where you're like, oh, I know there's not going to be any more after this next 2 pages. It's the same deal. So I've just really been thoroughly enjoying Astrobot. So anyone who's like on the fence about it, another thumbs up from me. Go buy it.
For sure. A friend of mine just picked up a PS4 Pro actually, and Red Dead Redemption 2, and I said to him that I'm quite tempted to lend him my PSVR and Astrobot, just for a couple of weeks, just so he can check it out and get immersed into that game.
You have a hard copy of it, or are you
a hard copy. Yeah, I bought it. Yeah.
Rowdy has like around like 20 of the same ones.
Yeah, Rowdy's the master of physical copies of PSVR games. So if you've got any spare ones, we'll put a link to Rowdy's PO box down below. You can just send them all over to him. Any spare copies?
Great. I have a few extra.
I do not have any more space. Literally,
oh my days, yeah.
So come on then, Rowdy, you ungrateful little swine for someone sending you all this gift. What have you been playing this week?
Nate is laughing for a reason that I can't tell you. but it's fine. It's fine. I bet you're all wondering what my RUP stash is. What my rum stash is. Like I just played. I just released a video of Prison Boss in which I made a ton of alcohol, and that was probably what Nate D was referring to. So I have like a little stash with like a lot of alcohol in there, and that is why it's my little rum stash, not rub stash. But no, the game that I wanted to highlight indeed was the burger game that I played. It's a silly game, I like playing silly games for once in a while. But it's done in a fun way. It like scales up. You can play it with multiplayer. It's called, damn it, I forgot the name. I just had the name.
Burger Time?
Anyway, it's what? A Clash of Chefs. Clash of Chefs. That was it.
Okay.
So I think it's like a little bit like a parody to, like, for example, Clash of Clans. Like that's why they take the title to like get some people like triggered. It's nothing like it though. But it's multiplayer as well. It's like you can have another chef as well that is cooking the same kind of burgers, and you kind of race against the time, like making the most amount of burgers. I didn't play it multiplayer. I don't really know how it works out entirely, but I played the single player because I wanted to see, is it fun like that as well? And the most fun of it comes just like messing up, which I did in the beginning of my video as well. Like I had no idea. There's no tutorial. Of course, there doesn't really need to be a tutorial for like making a burger. But for me, apparently that was kind of necessary because I was messing up with everything. I put the wrong the plates. I didn't know I had to use plates. I used 2 top buns to make a burger. So I had like a bun burger. It looked ridiculous. But the game is actually quite fun, especially because you can throw stuff around. I kind of like doing that more than the actual game. But it's a silly little title that is quite fun to play around with for a little while. Yeah,
Cool.
I like.
And that one's on Steam, right? I don't think it's on Oculus. I don't think.
I played it on Oculus.
Oh, you played it on Oculus, but through the Steam version, right?
No, I played.
Oh, it was on the Oculus Store.
Store.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I hadn't seen it on the Oculus
But the
Store.
question is, can you make that one special burger from Seeking Dawn?
The alien burger? You mean the upside down hamburger?
Yeah. Yeah.
I tried that multiple times, but the customers wouldn't take it.
Yeah, the cheese on the bottom, you just get out of here.
Yeah,
What are you thinking?
Cheese, meat, bun, cheese, and that's it.
Actually, I'm curious. Have any of you actually ever in real life been served a burger with the cheese on the bottom?
I wouldn't accept it.
You could grab it that way.
It's really weird, right? Like if someone served you a burger with like cheese on the bottom, and then
that's because we've got it ingrained in our minds from like all the advertisements that it should be on the top. That's why.
I mean, in Belgium, what we do have is that we put egg, but that's on the top then.
oh well, I think the Kiwis do the same thing. It's quite nice actually with egg. Yeah.
I could do an egg in a burger. Yeah.
For your recommendation, I tried a fisherman's tale.
Oh yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. I'm really looking forward to that one coming out. Actually.
The best game that I've played this year so far.
I was like, oh, what? Already?
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I get it.
I think that's coming out on the 25th of January,
22nd.
so we've got a little while longer to wait for that one, but definitely worth keeping an eye on for sure.
Yes.
So let's find out what Nathan's been playing then.
Well, first of all, let's go to the chat and see what they played.
Sure.
We have Top Dog VR, who has been diving into In-Depth VR, and the first time he played it, he didn't really like it, and now he likes it more. It's more awesome. Did you guys ever play a game that you kind of need to like learn to like VR wise?
Oh yeah. Not so much VR wise, but plenty in my lifetime.
Dark Souls. That's a good example. Like, no, it doesn't work. But then afterwards, like, oh yeah, now I get it.
There's several that come to mind for me. For me, Star Shelter was one of them because it's kind of hard in the beginning because you don't really know what you're doing. You die the entire time. From Other Suns had that with me as well. Like in the beginning, I was like I don't know what I'm doing. I don't get the weapons that I want. Like I'm dying. Like I didn't really know what the goal of the game was. But once you get better in those kind of games, you learn to appreciate them more, and I often end up liking them more than other games.
I'm actually that way, like with music. Like Rowdy and I share a fan. We're fans of Tool, and when I first listened to an album, I was like, "This is terrible." And then I listened to it straight for like a month, and then I was like, that became my favorite band and has been since. But the same thing for me was VR the Diner Duo. I was showcasing it, streaming it, and it's a great co-op game, fantastic. But the first game, I was like, "This looks too much like." All these other Sims that are out there at the moment. It looks like you're copying Valve. I had Dev Corona in there. So Dev Kev, the guy who actually developed the game, was sitting in chat, and I'm like berating him the whole show. And then we ran it again about a week later, and I loved it. So there's definitely plenty of titles in that category for me.
Plus, Dinner Duo is like a title for kids as well, because they have like height adjustments for minions.
There aren't that many games that consider that, but that's actually really important,
Yes.
So.
And then we have Caleb, who played Skyrim. Dr. Oculus played Project Cars 2, Beatblocks VR, and Accounting Plus. What is Beatblocks?
I don't know Beatblocks.
Beatblocks? Is it some kind of version of Beat Saber? I don't know. And then we have Paradise DK. He's also known as the biggest fan of Linus Tech Tips. He played Singularity 5, a surprisingly Robo-Recall quality wave shooter set in a future Paris, gorgeous graphics and locations.
At least his comments don't get hidden here.
No. And then we have Marcus. He played Sanguo Warriors VR. He says, don't waste your time with it. Okay. Thanks for the warning. Haven't checked it out myself yet, but okay. And then we have...
that's another one, indeed. That, that's a game like you play and you go like, I don't know what I need to do in here. Then it actually gets like really awesome.
Like the Minotaur game you played.
Sorry, which game was that, Rowdy, that you said?
The Solus Project.
Oh, Solus Project it's like Subnautica, but on land. Yeah.
Yeah.
True.
It's actually pretty good.
And then we have Fluke, who played Wipeout, and then last but not least, we have Person. Yeah, that's his name. Been playing Serious Sam, In Death, Sprint Factor, PC2, and Rec Room. Yeah.
Yeah. I think
Okay.
maybe I should give In Death another go because I wasn't a big fan of it originally. I thought it was kind of a bit repetitive and boring, but I think maybe they have been working on it a lot. I have seen a lot of updates, so maybe it's worth jumping back into.
Yeah,
now.
definitely, Mike. You get my thumbs up on it. I played it after they released the content, and it's good. You will have a good time.
I heard that too. Yes.
I mean, I haven't seen it since the updates, but for me, indeed, like when I saw the first videos, it looked very repetitive. It's like no storyline and not really that much else to do. Is it better now then?
It's so you have to be clear on the kind of game it is already, right? So it's a roguelike game. If you hate roguelikes, you're not going to like it, right? If you're into something that kind of like in Dreadhall's mode, right? You're getting a procedural let run, and what you come across will differ every run. So again, if you enjoy things like From Other Suns, because you come across different elements, and that in itself is telling you the story as you experience them. This way, you come across different baddies. Like there's a whole slew of different areas, different monsters. It's you get a different flavor. It's like tasting different textures.
And
so
it's definitely better than when I saw it.
Because it used to be like one set of bad guys, one set of arena. Yeah. Like there really wasn't that much difference to it. Well worth replaying. In Death is. Okay. I think it's about, I don't know, it's 15-20 quid or something, but I would say it's worth that price.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, I'll check that one out again.
So, according to Dr. Oculus, Beatblocks is a 3D Tetris.
Right, yeah.
There are like a lot of those games out there that do the same thing. I mean, Mike, you played the original first kind of 3D Tetris game, right? In VR.
I can't even remember now. Was it Polycube?
Yeah, I think so. Because I played a copy of it, and then you told me hey, man, it's like a knockoff. I was like, okay, what is the original one?
Knockoff of a knockoff.
Knockoff of a knockoff. Yeah.
Out, and then that kind of
And now it doesn't really matter. When a top-notch game comes out, you can't say anything anymore.
But it's great. I really like what Tetris Effect did. Because when everyone else is cloning them, they're like, oh, we're just going to put Tetris in a 3D space, and you're going to be in there, and you can see the blocks. They totally changed what it is. I'm still waiting. I'm waiting for that price point to come down so I can buy it.
I do feel like this Tetris title was really hyped up, and then the moment it came out, there were actually a lot of people that were not very. I enjoyed it a lot.
But the music side to it is so solid. It is. So, if you're an audiophile, it's really good.
It's trippy. Holy heck! I thought I took something.
Yeah, and it's future-proof Tetris. I don't think the young generation is very interested in just playing a plain Tetris. There needs to be some more, or maybe the Dr. Mario Tetris. Maybe that.
It's almost like there's a game called Polybius. That is another game that is like you took something. It's like you're on drugs or whatever. That's mental. And I know there's a sub base of people out there who are going to like that on PSVR, but.
Okay.
Yeah, there you go.
Interesting.
So what did you play then, Nathan?
I did not play anything. I took a week off in some way.
Again? Second week in a row?
17 weeks in a row?
No. Last week was like half, and this time I was I didn't really upload anything at all.
So this means that if you don't play a game next week, we're gonna just have to kick you off the show.
So he's out.
I'm not relevant anymore. Sorry, gotta go. No, but I worked on the studio next door because I'm planning to build my own stream cave. So I did.
Another cave.
Yes.
Multiple caves.
So you're planning on streaming more VR content?
True. Yes. Yeah. So I've been working on wireless microphone setups, motorized webcams and cameras that do stuff, and it's like a living stream. Something that is gonna be next level. Yeah.
Cool. Very excited for that.
Yes.
Anything you're interested in checking out next week? Anything planned that you might want to talk about?
I don't know. Maybe Half-Life VR.
Oh, okay. Well,
but that's not out yet, right? No, I gotta wait a little longer. Sorry.
We'll be talking about that shortly.
Yeah.
So this week I've been playing Borderlands 2 VR on the PSVR, of course. And before I say anything else about it, it was great to be back in Pandora and exploring the wastelands, you know, like being back in Borderlands and that kind of world that they've created. Like Borderlands 2 without the VR element, standalone is a great game. You know, it's got a great story, it's got a great cast of characters that are all unique and have got their own storylines, and then you've got this kind of villain that you love to hate called Handsome Jack, and he's just
You
hilarious.
got that one girl, right, Mike? The one that you liked?
I don't know which one you're talking
Tiny
about.
Tina?
Yeah. Play the innocent one now. Go ahead, continue.
Did you see the oil stains, by the way, on the bed of Claptrap?
To be honest, I wasn't looking for them, so
Okay.
you seem to be going quite deep on that, so I left that for
But
you.
I do get you, like the nostalgia
Yeah,
of like
exactly.
jumping in there. It's amazing. It's amazing.
Yeah, and it's a great game. So, you know, the joy of collecting loot and collecting different weapons and getting the right mix of like weapons that you like to play with all the time.
Yeah.
You know, it's got a lot to it. And I think, in my opinion, personally, I think playing it in VR is the best way to play this game, because you're immersed in that world. You know, you feel more connected with these characters. The scale of everything is great. You know, Pandora looks beautiful, and the art style with this cell shaded sort of look of it works so well in VR. I think, you know, it just makes the game look great. And overall, I had a great experience with it. I really enjoyed the game, but there was some things that I didn't enjoy, and I kind of want to talk about those a little bit. And it had nothing to do with the game itself, and it was more to do with the limitations of the PSVR. And it kind of, I hate saying that because I really love the PSVR as a system, and I think it's a fantastic system, and I'd recommend it to anyone that's interested in checking out VR and that has a PS4. But the problem with this game is, and I'll talk about playing it with the Move controllers first, because that was like my first experience with it. I just felt really frustrated with the way the moves were implemented with this game, and I don't think it's the game's fault. It's more the hardware that is the problem. And Nathan highlighted it as well. And not being able to 360 rotate in your play space is such a big problem with a game like this, because if you turn 180 from your camera, your Move controllers lose tracking, and then you can't control where you're aiming or anything anymore. So that means you always have to face your camera using the PSVR and use rotation controls with the Move controllers. And there's so many complicated controls in this game that I just felt overwhelmed at times. I was pushing the wrong buttons to do different things. I couldn't, you know, effectively shoot things properly, and everything just felt a little bit off. And the UI was a mess as well to navigate with the Move controllers, I felt. And to be fair, I just want to give it a bit of context with the Move controllers, because I don't want to feel like I'm slagging it off here, because I'm new to the Move controllers myself. I've only picked them up like 2-3 weeks ago, so I'm not overly familiar with them. So it didn't feel second nature like it would do with the other VR controllers that I've used for a while. So maybe that was part of the problem. But one thing I did find was that as soon as I moved over to the DualShock 4, it enhanced my experience with that game like tenfold. Like I had such a better experience with it using the DS4. And I loved it. I had such a great time with it. And I feel that's a real shame because, you know, with a VR game, you really want to use Move controllers and have fully tracked hands. And that's kind of the magic of VR. But I think it's just an issue with the PSVR and the limitations of that system that make me say that if you're going to pick up Borderlands 2 on the PSVR, I'd recommend you just play it with the DS4 and not the Move controllers.
I mean, some games are a bit like that, Mike. I mean, Doom was that way for me. I mean, I was probably a month or two in and picked up Doom and found the Move controllers and the aim controller both to be kind of pants, and had to go back to the DS4. But you know, in the end of the day, when accuracy counts and the controller scheme lets you down, even a couple of times, when you lose because of the game controller mapping, or even if it's your unfamiliarity to it, like it starts to really rub on you the wrong way. I mean, I found that recently in doing Beat Saber's grueling campaign, because the accuracy of the Move controllers, if you miss one block on some of those campaign missions, you lose. And it's like, well, why do I have to play a 6-minute song again, you know, because of the system? And so I absolutely hear it.
Yeah.
I do still have I'm still a little bit of the impression that if it's a game that is played better with a controller, then for me the game is not implemented in the right way, because I still want the immersion of using my hands and that kind of stuff. For me, and no offense, I love Subnautica, played in a VR. I love Doom, playing it in VR as well. But for me, Skyrim, another one, Fallout, another one. But for me, if I have to recommend a VR title to someone, I will never recommend any of those games because I don't feel that it's like using everything of virtual reality that it can offer at this moment. I don't see it as a true VR title compared to, for example, something as The Lab or like something where you actually need to use your hands and that you get that mind-blown effect of like, wow, I can actually pick up things and like use them and throw them away.
Maybe it's not possible. Maybe it's not possible to really enhance like pancake games to VR. There's a certain limit to that. The closest I have seen was with LA Noire, where I really felt like, okay, now we're getting there. It's like, oh, this feels like a legit VR type. But then still there were like some limitations to that. But
I watched Nathan's video as well, and at the end you made a really good point, and you were like, can the PSVR 2 just hurry up and get here already?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, and I think that was kind of what was going through my mind a little bit as well. It was like the next generation of PSVR, and we'll touch on it later on in the podcast as well, because we're going to be talking about what we want for 2019, and a fully tracked PSVR system would give this game a second lease of life using motion controls, I think, on the PlayStation platform. But obviously we have to wait for that.
Yes.
But the biggest question I have right now in my mind is, do I continue playing on PSVR, which I'm still thoroughly enjoying using the gamepad, or do I now hold out for PCVR and see how they implement the touch controls and everything with the PCVR version?
It's a hard one.
I kind of know what they're gonna do when it comes to PC. Let's say you're playing Borderlands on a Vive. Like if you know the Vive ones, there are less buttons on that, but you have the touchpad. So they're gonna make this like round like wheel where you can pick your stuff, and then it's already easier because it's in the middle, and you scroll through it and done, right? Well, with the moves, you always had to press like one button and hope for the best. Well, then it's like in one menu and you can see what you're gonna select. And with the move controllers, you just need to know the combinations. Well, on PC, like I think the way they're gonna implement it, you can see what you're gonna use, and that's a different way of playing a game. But I felt the same as you. But again, people that spend so much time with their PlayStation VRs are so good at remembering all of that it's not really a problem. But the moment you have to think about what you're pressing, it kills the VR experience. It just does. And then you're like, why can I not have like different controls? So I understand
as well, since that I lose the interest in the game because it feels like I'm not playing a VR game anymore, but then I'm playing a 2D game. So.
But I have never, like next to Borderlands, I have never had any other like PSVR game where I was like, these moves, it doesn't really, this is the first time. Whereas like, come on, like now this game is so good, please, upgrade.
And I think that's my point. I want to kind of end on a high in that I totally recommend this game. If you've got a PSVR, pick it up. If you're au fait with the move controllers, you'll probably be fine with it. Could be my lack of experience with them. But personally, I would say the DS4 for me is the way I'll continue to play it on that platform. But super nice game. It is the Borderlands that you know and love, and even better the fact that it's in virtual reality, I think.
I'm going to ask you a funny question. Go on, Rowdy, first.
And it's on PlayStation, so it'll be smooth.
Yeah, it's great.
Got a weird question, and for anyone who's a veteran in the VR space, you'll understand. Others might think this is weird. If you hate Borderlands, is it worth getting?
No, because if you hate Borderlands, you probably hate the grind. Like looting, the kind of like set mission paths. So you probably, and the thing is as well, if you're new to Borderlands, you might find it all a bit overwhelming. Because of all the controls and the fact that it is kind of a crazy game and there's lots of stuff going on. So
it's not that easy.
It's not that easy.
I do feel like if, let's say, this co-op mode will come to PC, then you could less hate it, because with a friend, you're willing to, sacrifice more of the...
The friendship glue fixes so many cracks in games,
Yes.
It really does.
But it's still a question, are they gonna do that? Maybe it's too much work, maybe, I don't know.
Who knows? Well, I guess we'll find out in 5 months? The exclusivity window is 5 months, so...
Yeah, if they have it ready in that time. Fingers crossed.
We will see. But yeah, that's what I played this week. I enjoyed it. But let's move into some quick news then. And first up, let's talk about PT. So if you're feeling brave, the new year's in, you've got some brave pills in your belly, and you're thinking, yeah, let's face some fears, then maybe you can check out one of the scariest games of all time in virtual reality, and that is the famous PT. It's been remade.
PD?
I was like, PD, are you going to say PD?
Paradise Decay.
Paradise Decay. But this game PT, I say it's a game, it's more of a demo, has been remade on PC using the Unreal Engine by developer Radius Gordello. And if you've never heard of PT before and you're like, what is he talking about? Well, it stands for Playable Teaser. And it was a free demo on PS4, and it was created by Hideo Kojima. So the same guy behind the Metal Gear Solid series. So legit dude. And PT was a teaser for an upcoming game called Silent Hills, which was a prequel to the classic horror game series Silent Hill. But that game was sadly later cancelled because Hideo Kojima left Konami. They had a big bust up. He started his own studio. So the whole project was scrapped. And then that means that this demo teaser, PT, was also dropped, and they removed it from the PlayStation Store. So you could no longer install it anymore, which was a real shame because it was a standout experience. A lot of people really enjoyed it, but also, lived on as the legacy of one of the most scariest experiences you could have in a video game. So it's got some real sort of high praise there. So this remake of it is now available for free to download, and it's the first time you've been able to check it out on PC, which is amazing. But the devs have also added VR support. So if you're interested in trying this out, you can download it now for free on itch.io. Now, if you're not familiar with itch.io, it's worth checking out, especially if you're into VR, because they've got tons of free experiences on there.
Garn is on there.
Garn came from there.
Came
from there.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's all like indie developers making little projects. It's almost like the Oculus Share nowadays. That's kind of the equivalent, I would say.
Yeah.
There's a lot of like interesting stuff going on there.
When are you planning to do the live stream on this, Mike?
Well, there's a caveat to what I'm saying right now. Before you will go and download it and stick on your headsets and wear your brown pants because you're going to get scared, is the VR implementation is kind of broken right now. Although hopefully it will get resolved in the future, because those that have tried it have said that the lens distortion profile added in the game is completely wrong. So it seems like everything when you put the headset on is kind of like a fishbowl. So hopefully the devs are going to tweak it and then update it, and then we can all check it out. But if it does get tweaked, then I will do a live stream for science, and maybe I'll wear my heart rate sensor so we can all kind of.
We need PD to play PT.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
So this is more like an environment, right? This is not the working game with all the mechanics in there. It's more like, you can explore it and that's it.
So it's apparently a replica of the demo. So the demo, I believe, was around 15 to 20 minutes long.
Yeah.
So it's an exact replica of that demo. There are some bits that some fans of the demo are saying are missing, but I'm sure the devs will take that on board and introduce them.
Okay. But it's funny that I actually have been in PD like a few years ago, because when Destinations was around on Steam, that is now Steam VR Home, you could have that as your home environment, but you could also explore it together with your friend. So you could just spawn things in there and just, walk around. It's kind of weird because it was just a static environment with nothing triggering it, but you could still, spawn balloony cars and throw particle cubes and stuff like that. So I've seen some remakes before, but this would then be the first one that is playable where, I think it's like a horror game where things just change every time. You come back in the same house and something changes, and every time there's something happening, something is different. That's
complete
interesting.
things like that.
A lot of disturbing
I'm like the
stuff
first one
going
to say, "Yep, I'm moving, I'm out of here."
I so want to play this. The thing is, this is one of those games that I was not a Sony guy. Before PSVR, I didn't own a PlayStation. The only thing that I ever bought that was Sony was a PSP, and I sold it within a year. I was a Nintendo boy, right? And I had a Dreamcast, and that was it. But this is one of those games that echoed off the halls of wherever you were working or a schoolyard or whatever. like PT just got such street cred. It's like you heard about it, just echoing. And so I was always really keen to try it out. And it's funny because I didn't used to be a Sony guy, huge into PSVR now. Didn't used to be a horror guy, big into that now the last 5 years. So like I'm really looking forward to it. You know, once it's
have you tried this, Sim?
No.
Right, okay.
A little bit of an inside joke there. I wouldn't talk about whether I'd played it or not pre-podcasting.
Yeah.
Somebody, you were going on about that, like, oh, and he's just going to say he didn't play it then, and be laughing. Well, I didn't actually play it.
Teasing us before the show.
On the positive side, even that, you know, this project got canceled and a lot of people are still very, you know, kind of sad about that. We are getting Death Stranding, so I don't know, I'm not complaining.
That's a good point.
Yeah,
But that's also weird.
Fans of Norman Reedus approve.
Yes.
Hideo Kojima is a genius, so I welcome anything that he makes.
Seems so.
But yeah, pleased that I'm finally going to get to play it. Even if I don't get to play it in VR, I'm going to play it normally on PC just to check it out anyway. But anyway, let's move into our next bit of quick news, and that is a Virtual Link breakout box. So if anyone else out there is as stupid as me and decided to throw a lot of money at their screens and invest in a new NVIDIA 20 series graphics card, then maybe they'll be pleased to know that there's actually use of that fancy new Virtual Link connector on their card, and that is that a breakout box is coming for Oculus Rift and Windows MR headsets. Now, this one's made by a company called Accell, and it was unveiled this week before being shown off at CES, because they're going to be at CES showing it off. And basically, it converts the HDMI and USB 3.0 from the Rift and Windows MR cables into a single USB-C connector. So that means if you own one of these fancy new 20 series graphics cards from NVIDIA that features this Virtual Link connection, or a compatible laptop, because apparently some laptops do support this as well now, then you can use this adapter and to save a HDMI and USB port on your computer.
So someone in the chat is asking, what do you mean with a breakout box?
So basically what it is a USB-C connector at one end of the cable, an 8-foot cable, and then basically like a Vive breakout box. So it's basically a little box at the end of it.
So breakout box, you mean a box that connects to the PC?
Yeah. There's basically just got a HDMI in port and a USB in port on it. So
it's just box that is broken out of your PC.
You know what, though? This is the sad fact. The only reason I have not sold my Vive is so that my Rift can benefit from the Vive breakout box.
Yeah.
Because it's so bloody handy. So this is actually really cool. This is really cool.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. And that's the thing. Like, other than the fact that it uses the Virtual Link connector, it does add another 8-foot to your standard Rift or Windows MR cable.
But on the other side, I'm not sure, but like I don't think they ever promised this, but I've always thought that this Virtual Link was built into the graphics card, not as an extender of that, but it was like built into your GPU.
It is.
It is built in there.
Yeah.
But you just extend that again with that breakout box.
Yeah, so basically, like, you plug the USB-C into the connector on your graphics card.
So I totally missed that then. Because when I was at the launch of NVIDIA, I was just waiting for that VR moment, and it never came. So that's why now I know, but that's why I never knew that was a thing.
But the thing is, right now, there's no other reason really you would use it. Other than saving yourself a HDMI and USB port, there's no other reason. Like, there's no performance benefits. There's no other benefits, really.
But there is a huge...
right?
Yet, exactly. Yeah. With this, it's basically just an adapter to utilize it for first-gen headsets. I'm sure future-gen headsets will use it to its full potential.
But do you know how many, like, I had this problem when I was out with the Poker VR guys in California. Like, getting a laptop that's, like, VR ready or whatever, oftentimes they don't have enough HDMI ports. Like, they're like one short. And so we had to buy connectors for USB-C to be able to get the thing properly powered, to get enough connections for the trackers plus the headset, irrespective of the branding on the laptop. So I know there's plenty of people out there suffering from that, and if you happen to have, I guess it'll have to be a pretty pricey laptop to be featuring one of these new ports, but if you do, you've got an option coming for you. That's cool.
Well, this cable's fairly pricey as well. It's $49.99 in US dollars. They're available for pre-order now. They're going to be shipping in mid-January. But if you like the idea of this solution, but you don't want to spend that much money or you don't want to wait that long, there is a Reddit user that posted a little while ago when the GPUs from NVIDIA started shipping out, that they used an official Apple USB-C to HDMI and USB adapter
Oh, I remember
to plug in their Rift into this port, and it worked fine.
Okay.
So if you can get one for a reasonable price, I think brand new they are actually quite expensive, maybe $70.
Oh, yeah.
But I've recently bought like a cheaper Chinese version of that cable to see if it will work.
Uh-oh.
I think that was like £7. So for science, I'm going to test it. But
Yeah.
With that £7, Mike, just for another £7, just get a fire alarm for your room, just in case the cable burns. I've had a friend electrocuted from like cheap Chinese electronics. So anyway.
So again,
Scary.
who's selling this breakout system?
So it's a company called Accell. They're going to be at CES, so you'll probably hear more about it over the next week. But yeah, like I said, it's going to be working with Windows MR and Oculus Rift, but is only really suitable for people that want to extend their cable, save a couple of ports on their computer, and that have this latest NVIDIA GPU anyway right now. So small niche market right now, but
You know what would be
in the
cool?
future.
Sorry.
You go first.
Yeah, so I've seen something from MSI last year where they had also some kind of breakout box, but you could put it in the front of your PC, so you could put the cables in there. I think that would be nice too with this virtual link, because every time I want to put something into my PC, I have to get my PC the other way around again, and if there's something on the front too, that's super nice. Trust me, I think a lot of people that play VR have their computer set the other way around.
Yeah,
but if you have a fancy looking PC, you of course want to display it in the legit way. But if you have just a beast PC without any fancy lights,
that's actually why I like the idea of the breakout box, because with the PlayStation, what you can do is you can just like swap it next. I mean, I have my PlayStation attached to my PC, so I can just like attach it next to it on the side of it, and then I can just like plug all the cables on the front and have the cable running from there. So I actually like the idea of having a breakout box or like some kind of extension, because I switch headsets a lot as well. So
there's another benefit logistically. Yeah. If you yank hard on a cable, or you trip over it, or you step on it, or whatever, you don't want to be pulling your new RTX card out of your system, right? Like, or because you can actually damage your cards doing that. I'm not talking quite from experience, but I've had a few scares. But the PSVR breakout box, which when I first saw it, I was like not happy that there was this extra piece. I agree, it's kind of a godsend actually.
I think the thing is, like right now, this is only, it doesn't work with Vive, so that's the shame. Like for someone like us, it would be great because like you've got this breakout box, you can use all the headsets in, but it's only Rift and Windows MR right now.
I think it's super neat to extend your cable anytime. If there's some weight to your cable, if that's Rift, Vive, or whatever. It's way nicer to play with it because the cables don't move. So
true.
Okay. That was this little quick tip. If you have a Rift and you manage to get like on eBay or somewhere the breakout box from the Vive, it does work. And it's lovely. Every so often you'll get a headset not detected, but there's a power of the 3 cables that go into it. There's a power one. If you just like plug that in and out, it detects your cable, and it saves you from digging around the back of your PC, and it gives you that little bit of extension. The Rift cable is plenty fine actually for a lot of spaces. A lot of people call it quite short, but I think that part of that is because you're at the back of the PC and you're spending half a meter just getting around it. The other thing I was going to say, just a bit of a joke, was anyone else hearing Foo Fighters in their head now after all that breakouts, all that breakout conversation? Anyway.
Well, let's say if your cable is too short, just strap your PC on your back. Problem solved.
Yeah. No worries if it's water cooled.
Flex tape, that's all you need.
Flex tape.
We're not sponsored by Flex tape, but we would like to know.
Yeah, we're our sponsor. Flex tape.
Yeah, awesome.
So the next bit of quick news is about something called FinchShift. And this is a 6 degrees of freedom controller solution. So we know that, from our experience, that Vive are currently making their own 6 degrees of freedom controllers for the Vive Focus. So that headset will be a full 6 degrees of freedom standalone headset, which is awesome. And we also know that they've been working on this platform called the Vive Wave platform. If you're not familiar with that, it's a platform in which Vive are giving hardware partners use of their software. So headset manufacturers can just make a headset and use this Vive Wave platform just like an operating system for a headset, for example. So a bit like in the mobile phone industry right now. You've got, manufacturers that make phones like Samsung and everyone else, and they use Google's Android platform as their operating system. Same concept, same principle. People are making out their own headsets, but using the Vive Wave platform as their operating system. So what we've seen just recently is that not only is the Vive Wave platform for headset manufacturers, but it's also for VR accessory manufacturers. So this is kind of interesting that they're opening up their SDK for people to make accessories as well, which they can then bake into the SDK for anyone that makes the headsets. So kind of cool. And FinchShift, which is this controller tracking system, is one of the ones that have partnered with Vive and is authorized on their Vive Wave platform. And basically what it is, it's a controller tracking system that can add 6 degrees of freedom controllers to a mobile headset without the need for base stations. So we know that Vive are obviously doing their own version of their own controllers, but this is another alternative if you want to choose. So it's kind of getting more to this kind of open VR system where you can choose your own controllers, own tracking system, whatever you want to do.
Yes.
Put it together piecemeal, which I think is a great idea. I like that idea.
Yeah.
And without base stations, so how does it work?
Yeah, so what it uses is a pair of armbands. So you put some armbands on your arms just above your sort of elbow, and then you've got the controllers. They use gyroscopes similar to that of the Oculus Go controller, but they're more in depth, and they work in combination with these armbands to provide 6 degrees of freedom tracking. I'm not 100% sure on the science behind it, but that's basically my rough explanation of how it works. It's all built into the controllers and the armbands, basically.
And for those watching the video, I mean, the tracking seems to be spot on anyway in the demo that they're showing. So pretty nifty to see a Samsung Gear VR with.
I don't know how. I'm trying to think of like a way of like how it would work, but
the scientist in the room is confused.
Well, because if you're dependent completely on gyro, you'll end up with drift, and that's the problem.
Yeah, that's
where I think Rowdy's going. That
there was some more wizardry to it, but it was too complicated for my mere mortal brain, so that's why I didn't add it to my show notes. It just works, all right, lads.
All right.
But anyway, apparently it's also compatible with Oculus Go and other VR headsets as well. So,
dude, I love this.
It looks like a similar solution to the Nolo in a way, although the Nolo adds a head tracker to the Go, which makes the Go 6 degrees of freedom and is a bit hit and miss. But it'll be interesting to see how this performs on the show floor at CES, because they're going to be showing it off there as well.
In terms of consumers, like if I'm going to take the kind of average 16-year-old and just say, if I'm an average 16-year-old and I got an Oculus Go, right? You're thinking ahead, like, I can't spend the 400 quid on a Rift or whatever, but I could spend on an upgrade. Do we know what the price point of this thing is going to be? Any idea?
Again, a strange price point, and I said this about Nolo as well being a strange price point, and because I think Nolo's too expensive for what it is, and this is similar bracket. It's like $150, so it's kind of like it's a bit, it's in that difficult bracket, but. I think where it will shine is like with the Vive Focus and the Google Daydream, both being 6 degrees of freedom headsets, and now being able to add these controllers, even though these companies are making their own official versions, you've got options here now. So kind of makes it interesting.
We got people in the chat saying, but the headset will still be 3 degrees of freedom, right?
With the Oculus Go, yes, but with the Vive Focus, which I think is more going to be the target market, Vive Focus and Google Daydream, they're 6 degrees of freedom headsets without 6 degrees of freedom controllers. So I think that's where the market is potentially.
But can't they use then the sensors for the gyroscope and the armbands to make the 3 degrees of freedom 6 degrees of freedom?
No, it doesn't have a head tracking solution like the Nolo does. So it's just a hand tracking solution. They do also offer a 3 degrees of freedom hand tracking solution for headsets as well, which they've already been selling, but this is their kind of new upgraded version of it.
Okay. Such a niche of a niche of a niche, right? Like, I mean, my perspective on this is really from the developer's seat. Who's going to be testing this configuration with their game?
There's one thing that really stands out about this and kind of harks me back to my original comment about this kind of open VR platform where you can choose the best kind of components that you want to use for your headset, and that you've got options here. That they're offering a solution with a trackpad and a solution with a thumbstick. So if you love thumbsticks, but there's no other option to add a thumbstick to your Vive Focus, for example, then this is maybe a viable option for you there. So could be kind of interesting.
Will this still have any value once we get to the Oculus Quest?
That's where I thought it would. That's where I thought it would. If it's a viable product that's been tested and it works, then if you can get in that middle step between I've got a base headset and all I need to do is pay for some controllers to get me to that step up, to that experience, so that I'm not having to, take that all in one hit.
Yeah. And I'm
so
sure
they're
a lot
actually then aiming for the users that already have headsets. So once Oculus Quest is released and people then start buying a VR headset, there's no point in buying an Oculus Go together with this because it will probably be more expensive eventually than.
But that's true. But on the other side, there are still people that are just gonna buy, one of the standalone headsets, and they don't even know. Like since this whole market right now is sometimes not even informed well enough. Some people don't even know the Quest is gonna be out, and they're still gonna upgrade something else. So I don't think the Quest is gonna be blowing this out of the.
And also you've made valid points before, Nathan, in that the Quest isn't going to be launching in China potentially. So this could be a solution for them, with the Google Daydream and the Vive Focus.
Plus, I mean, isn't it amazing? Just think about it. Amazing to have different controllers that you can just grab. It's like, oh, I'm gonna play this game. Which one do I need for that? Again, on the PC side standalone, I love to have more than just one controller I can grab. That's why people are excited about the Knuckles, where it's like, hey, I can just have still my stock controllers, but I can get something else as well. I mean, there's
a gentleman named Reggie who right now his mouth is just salivating listening to Nathan. This gentleman, he has something to do with Nintendo. I don't know. I've heard his name bounce around a little bit, but he loves controllers.
I mean, there are enough people out there who love to use the Steam controller and also an Xbox one, and they play certain games with their Steam controller, and they play some stuff with their Xbox controller or PlayStation controller. And I think the same with VR will happen, where it's like, which one should I use for this game? And you can really pick whatever you want.
I kind of hope it won't, because in a way, I like to have one standard controller, and that every game is optimized for that standard controller, because you'll have a fractioning of the market, because you'll have people that have that kind of controller. You're going to have to optimize your game for so many different kinds of controllers. Just to make sure
that's true, but it's already happening. You're not going to stop it. I mean, for example, Pimax is going to come with their controllers. These are different again as well. And you have the touch controls, like this touch and the Vive and the Move controllers are already 3 different ones. And there will only be more of those. I mean,
and there's already been a lot of problems with that as well. So I don't think that is a good way to go. If you have modular controllers, okay, that you can modulate or buy pieces for it so that the weight is different or something. But actual button configurations for one system, I don't think that's a good idea.
But right now the market is so small that if a company can nail a really good VR controller right now, they can conquer the entire market if they want to. So that's why they don't go with something that already exists.
But that's Valve's mission right now, right? Targeting Steam VR being an open platform. That's their goal. So
yes.
We'll be talking more about the Knuckles later, by the way.
On the point of value, think as well about the secondary market, right? Because again, if you don't have a lot of money, you're going to go for a headset that was used. Somebody else had this already. So again, it's not like they don't have, even if the controllers are 150 quid, and even the price point with the Quest, there's still a market there for someone picking up a 50 quid headset, pairing some controllers with it. If you can play Beat Saber on the thing. If there's a software package that's going to drive that. But without software,
But like I say, this is going to be integrated into the Vive Wave system. So it's going to be compatible with every Vive Wave headset. So you don't have to mess around. Hopefully it'll just be integrated and it'll just work. So, but there's going to be people at CES. I'm sure we're going to have loads of CES news this week. So I'm sure we'll hear more about it, and we can give you the lowdown on it. But let's move into our last bit of quick news this week. And that is me throwing some more fuel on the rumor mill fire when it comes to Valve and Half-Life 3 VR. So yesterday we received confirmation in the form of an email from Gabe Newell, which was shared on social media, confirming that Half-Life 2 episodes and Portal co-writer Eric Walpole has returned to Valve after being absent and leaving about a year or just over a year ago. And it seems like he's been back for a little while. So he came back at the end of 2018, apparently, sort of quietly came back. And we kind of found out through this email after someone did some digging and found out that he was featured in the credits for Valve's recent game called Artifact. So this guy, Eric Wellpower, he was in the credits for this game, so he must have worked on it in some way, shape, or form. Someone contacted Gabe Newell and say, look, is this guy back working for you now? And Gabe Newell confirmed it, and then that email was shared on social media. And the thing is, this guy, along with like 2 or 3 other guys, worked on Half-Life 2 episodes story content and Portal and Portal 2. So he's a legit writer. Obviously, Valve hire many different writers for all their different games and projects, so it could be nothing. However, there's a lot of like heating up around Valve right now. There's a lot of stuff going on. There's a lot of smoke. And like we've said before, there's...
Why doesn't he just tell us what kind of VR experience he's writing for?
Exactly.
It sells better.
Yeah. But there's so many rumors right now. It seems like every week we've got a fresh rumor about Valve, and it's never kind of been like this. There's been a long period of like stagnant information around Valve, but it's really sort of heating up right now, and I think it's getting me excited and everyone excited about it.
It does give a lot of hope to like the market, where I'm like, oh, there is going to be a new headset with some kind of bundle, and who's gonna buy it? What kind of new like audience are they going to reach that we have not seen before? Right?
I don't know. I get what I call Duke Nukem Forever syndrome. When you're waiting more than 2 years for something, it's gonna be. I'm not saying it's gonna be trash if it's coming from Valve, but I'm waiting for heartbreak. I'm not waiting for the next amazing thing. That says I have all the faith in the world now.
You're hurting me.
So if you prepare yourself for the worst, then if you're pleasantly surprised, then it's just a nice surprise.
All I wanted was strippers, man. No, I'm just kidding.
Okay, so since Zim is pulling a Linus Tech Tips here, I would say like, I mean, there are images out there, Zim. So I mean, what is that meaning? Like, is that fake to you then, or
I wait for an official
about
announcement.
it, but it's just not as big as we think it is. That's what you're saying.
So like for me, new hardware coming from Valve isn't half as interesting to me as what's the next software play, because what we've seen them put out. I mean, the last thing I can remember, you're gonna have to correct me if I'm wrong here, but now the lab was the last thing like that I chewed on, gnawed on happily in the corner for hours and just wanted more of that archery game. But like I just want their next thing. Of course, it's like when you're waiting for a new release from a director or your favorite musician or whatever. You're just sitting there with impatience and looking for any scrap of like life, and I think that's what this is. And the trouble is, for me, particularly with Half-Life, and I've recently replayed the original game, and I still love the intro, this like 15-minute sequence of like, I wish games today would have the balls to go and do that, like force you through 15 minutes of waiting, to be kind of like, you're gonna be on this ride, and and then give you something valuable for it at the end. But still, that said, if I was to go back and play Half-Life now, end to end, or play GoldenEye, like it'll show its issues. I think it's so high up on a pedestal. It's dangerously high on that pedestal, and I just don't want to listen to anybody. I want to put cotton in my ears. I want to lock myself away. I want them to come with a new IP, like what they did with Left 4 Dead. When Left 4 Dead dropped, that was one of my favorite gaming experiences of all time. Got it for Christmas. Wife had gotten it for me off of some IGN reviews. And man, like I just had such a blast. And the same thing was with Lab. I didn't know the Lab was going to hit. I didn't know I was going to end up loving archery, and that the tension on the bow was going to be just like itching in my fingers for months after. That's what I want from Valve, and that's what they can deliver. So, the fact that they got a new writer, great. They got a writer who I love from Rime and from The Invisible Hours. They took that guy on about a year ago. So they are brewing something, and I'm happy to wait for them when they're ready to talk about it and announce it.
It's just funny that like every game they made in the past is on a high pedestal. The moment they make it, maybe the Lab not so much because it's VR only, but all of the like Left 4 Dead, Portal, there's nothing you can screw up. Everything that comes out of that company, if it's out, and there's nothing you can do about it anymore. It's crazy.
It's not that popular though. Artifact.
Yeah, but that's so new, man. Like I haven't
even seen a screenshot of that game. I heard about it. Is that out? Artifact.
Yeah, it's out. It's like a card trading game.
Fucking hell, I'm dead.
But again, if you do want to play some Half-Life in VR, I mean, there's like Half-Life that's also on itch.io that is free. You can play that with the Touch or the Vive, and there's also this one mod that you can use. I think there are some videos on YouTube where you can play like the original Half-Life in VR with actual motion controls too. It's kind of wonky, but it does the trick. It's fun, so it is possible.
So there we go. That is our quick news for this week. So I'm going to hand it over to Zim now to see if he's got any game releases this week. I should have asked him before the show, actually, if he had any before, just handing it over mid-show. But
there are several, and this I'm laughing maniacally here because you'll get a kick out of these ones. These are not gems. These are rough in the diamonds. But I picked three to talk about because I thought it would go well with our what do you looking forward to in 2019 and all that. So a couple of things here. So I'll talk you through them. First one is a how would I call it? It's a hack. It's a cheat because this game was actually first formally released in November as a free game, and actually the kind of expansion to this is coming out now. So this is a game called RideOp VR Pro. There's a bunch of other kind of theme park simulator rides and stuff like that, and this one kind of just grabbed my eye on Steam, and so this has some new content releasing next week. They quoted some ride that I don't recognize a brand of that you're able to go on, which is the RideOp Carcel. So apparently RideOp is actually a brand, and there's actually these rides in real life somewhere. I don't know where that is actually. Sorry, I didn't look that up. But it looked like something that to me again reminds me of this genre of games and of my first trip out to California for OC4 when I met Mike. Which was I went on like real life roller coasters, and I couldn't believe it that my tolerance for them was like so much higher after a couple of years of VRing. So this thing straight out the bat, I was just like, oh, this is kind of neat. So anyway, there were 3 rides on the old one that was out for free. I assume this one's coming out for free as well. 10th of January is when it's launching from a dev called.
Motion Sickness Simulator, though.
What's that, Rowdy?
It looks like Motion Sickness Simulator, though. Right, that they're putting you on there.
I'd say generally speaking, unless it's a roller coaster, particularly in the early DK1, DK2 days. I want to remember the original.
The Helix one.
Yeah, well, I mean, there were just so many that just were vomit comets, or just because of the low performance, or the level didn't work so well. I like No Limits 2, which is a great roller coaster sim as well.
The Unreal one, the castle.
I Ferris wheel one time in VR chat with Natey, and I fell on the floor.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, well, it did go really fast though.
The VR chat theme park.
Yeah.
But the problem with those were like you could speed it up yourself, and usually if you can speed things up by yourself, not a good idea.
Yeah,
that's a danger sign.
To infinity. Well, I mean, like this one again. I apologize in advance. Some of these titles are definitely rough. There's a good one in the middle. This one is coming from a developer who also brought us Plot Rudder VR, Uplands Motel VR Thriller. And I don't know if any of you have played those games, but they are mostly negative reviews on Steam. So I'm not necessarily thinking that this is going to be a great one. But if you're looking for a free ride without paying for the ticket, hit it up. So that was
what's it called again, Sam?
That was RideOp VR Pro, which is basically I think it's gonna be free DLC on top of this existing RideOp VR game.
Okay.
So that's 10th of January coming out. Next one I'm going to show you is kind of like an escape room, and this is interesting. This one's called the Energy Lab. I liked the look of it, but people are saying that it's kind of incredibly short. So I'll flick a trailer on this. Hopefully it doesn't show off half the gameplay, but hey, it might. So keep your eyes closed if you don't want a spoiler. If you're an audio listener, there you go. So this one, I'll just give a little blurb on it. So you find yourself at the threshold of an abandoned lab containing technology of an unknown origin. Welcome to the Energy Lab. You've found your way in, now find a way out. It's a new VR short by Time Machine, creators of Bathroom Break. And I don't think that's a VR game, but if it is, I need to go do some research. I found this really interesting. It looks quite well developed. There are a fair number of positive reviews for this one, and actually this is something that released on the 1st of Jan, so it's only just out. So this is something that I thought would be worthwhile kind of flashing for people who are looking for just something, like that Cave Digger game I was talking about the other time, like these kind of short freebies that you find on Steam, and they're actually quite solid. So this one looks like a nice little taster if you're looking for something to chew on, you don't have much money or whatever. Just want to call out a review by Fast Lawyer because I thought it was quite balanced and it was at the top of the list here. He said, "I really like this game, but it was way too short. Took me 6 minutes from start to finish." Feels like a demo for a really good game. But just when you get started, getting excited about what's going to happen next, the game ends abruptly. The puzzles are relatively easy and the graphics look good. Locomotion is via arm swinging. They tout this as like some kind of a new style of VR movement allows you to explore with freedom in the most natural way possible. We've seen the arm swinging movement in other titles, which has its pros and cons, right? But in terms of the way the game looks like it almost kind of like it's akin to a couple of the other like puzzly games like Form or whatever.
Yeah, it gave you some Form vibes right there.
Yeah. So that
Wait,
person
so
said,
is this early access or is there something more to this, or is this 6 minutes and hey, this was the game? Thanks. See you next time.
So far, I think it's this is the game. Thanks. So
we already talked longer about this game than the game actually is.
Absolutely, and that's what most of the negative reviews say. They said the trailer is longer than the game. And the trailer's 54 seconds, by the way. Okay. Third piece of junk I got for you this week. Sorry, we'll have some better stuff. There's loads coming later in January, but early January it's mostly what we usually call as shovelware. This one, I saw the title and I couldn't help myself. I am a man after all, and a man does nothing better than follow food. This VR gem is called. This is called Temple of Pizza. Okay. Temple.
No, stop, Sam. No, don't go there.
There are a few difficult things that just from the outset. Now, when a game's trailer starts with no sound and starts from a Windows Movie Creator file that's been loaded to Steam, these are bad signs. Okay, Temple of Pizza. I'm going to tell you about this one. This one's releasing on the 13th of January.
Yeah, the video's playing. That's Windows Movie Maker right there.
Windows Movie Maker, exactly. All right, here we go. Temple of Pizza. Deliver pizzas to a mysterious party taking place in a previously abandoned temple in the woods. We will provide support from the store. Should you need more pizzas or sodas, just call us out on the radio and we will fly them to you. Remember our policy, pizza on tables and sodas in hands. So this is a pizza delivery experience, and you earn tips by throwing pizzas and drinks to customers who look very static, and this game is just... Anyway, I felt it was quite akin to the VR Unicorns experience Archery. I think, Nathan, you've probably played that one as well.
Yeah,
but
totally the same thing.
Yeah. I couldn't. So if you're looking for a solid game, maybe go support VR Unicorns and pick up Archery. This game is a little bit crazy. But the thing that I found so interesting about this, I thought you guys would like to hear about this, is this game, which sits on Steam, does not support HTC Vive. It's only made for Oculus Touch controllers. It's only for Windows and Oculus Rift. And is going to be available. I don't know the price yet. Cost is unknown. It's going to be available 13th of January on Steam if you've got a Rift, not a Vive.
Days. And in the trailer, I saw that it has like actual voice control as well.
It's got voice control. I know.
Like throw pizzas and then you're throwing them or something. I don't know.
Whoa. So if you love pizza and you love VR, it's the only game to pick up this January. Yeah.
And please, can we have like shuffleware like a week, like every week, man? Like this is hilarious.
When I get the chance and I see something that's worth a little bit of a gut laugh, that I will bring it. But I will promise you all, my New Year's resolution for 2019 is bringing you better news than Temple of Pizza.
Okay, fair enough.
Thank you for that, Zim. Okay, so let's move into our first topic this week, and that is Oto Tech. So this is kind of interesting. It's a motion sickness headband. So I kind of fell into this really because like last week I was doing a lot of research into sort of motion sickness and stuff because a lot of people were asking questions about motion sickness again, and it seems like over the holidays a lot of people picked up a VR headset for the first time, and I was getting questions like, I got a Rift for Christmas and then I jumped straight into Pavlov and now I feel really sick. Like, why is this happening? So I was like, okay, so I did a little video putting some practical advice out there.
Because you are not worthy is what the video said. You are not. Actually, your video was really nice, Mike. Well done.
Cheers. But basically, in doing some research, I came across this product called Oto Tech, and this motion sickness headband that apparently cures motion sickness. So before we get into the headband itself, let's talk about how motion sickness comes about, or simulator sickness actually occurs. And basically, to put it bluntly, is that your eyes are telling your brain that you're moving in a virtual reality experience that uses smooth locomotion, but your vestibular system in your inner ear is telling your brain that you're not moving. So the confusion of those two and the confliction of those two causes like that feeling of motion sickness. And basically it's your body's natural instinct, knowing that something's not right. It's like a preservation system that kicks in, like embedded in us from like the Neanderthal days, basically saying that we must be hallucinating. If those two systems aren't working together, then we must be hallucinating and we must be poisoned. So if we're poisoned, we ate something wrong. So your body gets hot, it warms itself up because it's trying to make you vomit that poison up. So that's basically the whole nausea system around motion sickness.
This is incredibly topical, and I have to ask our resident scientist here a question, because this is something I don't understand. But having just gone through 2 bouts of 12 hours of straight vomiting, and let's just say both ends. I got a question. Why does motion sickness in a VR headset only cause me stomach nausea that makes me want to vomit, and not the opposite end? The other release valve. Like, why? Does anyone out there?
I guess because it harks back to what I just said. Maybe getting rid of it poison-wise is quicker than going through your digestive system.
Go through your entire system.
Yeah.
And if it goes through your intestines, the poison will absorb.
So the assumption, I guess, is you ate something bad, and hence you need to throw it up.
Yeah, poison.
Did you guys ever got so motion sick that you were like, okay, now I'm like actual sick, or never?
Never been physically sick, but I did have to lie down for like 4 hours, and that was on the DK1 with Half-Life 2.
Like Mike, I've had 3-4 hours out because I pushed it a little bit and.
Yeah. I actually once threw up after a VR session.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it was after that one, it was like on the DK1, Valiant. It was like
on the horseback.
One. Yeah, with like the poles. How is that called? Like
Lance.
Yeah. So I played that, and then your head fell off, so you were rolling over the floor, and I played that for a few hours, and it just didn't feel right because you were on the horse, fine, but the moment you fell off, you were like, because it's only your head, so you're like in the floor suddenly physically, and that was happening a lot because every time you could respawn. So I was so sick. Did
you get it on video?
No. It was just a private session. But I can tell you, after that, I didn't touch VR for like 2 weeks. I was like, this is not good. And that's the problem with VR.
Yeah.
It can make people so sick that they are getting scared of a VR headset. And that can last for maybe a few weeks where they do want to try it again. But you always have that feeling like, ooh, okay, I'm not so sure if I want to, because you want to have fun. You don't want to get sick.
It's also just not, like I find that with VR sickness, when you get it, especially early days, like when we don't have VR legs, you're not used to it, you're not used to that, and probably new Pimax owners, from what I have heard. The other thing is, like, it's like momentum. In other words, like what you probably had, Nathan, is you don't feel it actively so much. You might feel like a pressure in your stomach or something. Some people get hot, or their head swims, but it's rolling. It's like getting a massive ball rolling of like sickness.
Yeah.
And when it starts to hit you, so much so that you're like, okay, I got to come out. That's only really the start of it, and then it almost gets worse, and it stays with you for a long bloody time, like hours. And
that's exactly the reason why it's an evolutionary system, because once that system gets triggered, then it's like, okay, this stomach needs to be emptied. It needs to be fully empty, like everything out, and that's purely evolutionary. That is.
By the way, It was jousting.
Jousting.
But I had another moment while I was playing Serious Sam. I think it was with Rowdy. Like the speed was so fast, and we played it for let's say 2 hours or something. And at the start, I was just going completely nuts. But then after I was like, okay, now I really need to stop because the speed in that title was so crazy. But the more VR you play, the more you can handle. So now, let's say if I would play something like that, it takes me maybe 4 or 5 hours before I get that sick, and then I take it off. So I think you build it up, but I don't feel like it will go away. If you play for hours upon hours, it will play up again, but it's like it depends on how crazy you just go.
I would say if you play a lot of badly optimized VR titles.
Yeah, of course.
Also,
of course.
Also, something that went away. Your voice is coming in and out a little bit, Rowdy. I don't know why. It's like you're.
I have that with you as well.
Oh, weird. Okay. So one thing I was gonna say is smell. I don't know if anyone remembers, but like DK2 smell of the foam or DK1 smell of the foam.
Blue?
Like some people that triggered them to the point where they couldn't play or whatever. And
they basically got motion sick using that headset and associated that smell with motion sickness. So whenever they put the VR headset on, it just triggered it again.
Yes.
But yeah, exactly. Right. But the thing is, with time, like you guys have said, we can train our minds and bodies to deal with it. It's one of those things that with experience you'll overcome it in time, and that's why I said start slow, take breaks, never push through if you're feeling sick. Get out straight away. But this company, Oto, they weren't developing this like motion sickness headband with VR in mind. It was actually aimed for military personnel who are traveling on ships or in the back of Humvees or in planes. Because actually, surprisingly, a lot of the military, when they're on operation, get really sick. And the problem is having a sick army is they can't, operate fully to their full potential, and that's a problem. So actually something, I can't. So this is why this is kind of an interesting product. And basically what it does is this headband is like just a normal headband, but it's got a little box, like a module that sits behind your ear, and it's got a little motor in it. And basically what that motor does is it sends vibrations to your vestibular system, essentially confusing it. So it confuses the vestibular system, so it doesn't send any of these signals to your brain, and then you don't get motion sick, apparently. And that's basically the principle on how this device works.
Freaking awesome.
Yeah, I thought it was super interesting. So I thought it was really interesting. And I thought, this could help us in the future potentially, although I don't think we'll need this so much in the future, because I think, like we've discussed previously on the show, with the advancements in optics and stuff like Oculus working on these like kind of dynamic blurring effects like we've talked about before, I think in the future it will be easier for newcomers to just put on a headset and adapt to it much quicker. But right now we're kind of in this kind of early phase. But it's interesting because this isn't the first time in gaming that people get motion sick, of course, because I remember back in the day, friends playing Doom or Wolfenstein or even Half-Life, the original Half-Life, got a lot of my friends sick playing it just on a traditional monitor. And I think it's just that movement and experiencing it for the first time and just getting more accustomed to it with experience.
I actually wonder if we're about to hit a crevasse, a kind of like an impasse where we reach that point where, okay, maybe the simulation sickness is no longer a thing because the technology's caught up, but where people are suffering real psychological disorders because, hey, I've gone into Onward or I'm on Normandy Beach and I see a dude next to me and his intestines are laying everywhere and I've got real PTSD from that situation because I couldn't discern that I was in or out of the headset. So I'm wondering if there's going to be a kind of a padding where people say, we actually want to keep that reality away so that it's still fun. You know what I mean? Like, I wonder if we're going to reach that point where you're actually down the rabbit hole.
I don't think I think even now we can't stop it. It's inevitable. I think
it's got to happen.
It's going to happen.
It will happen, and it will also be used in a treatment setting. So, I mean, it's not only going to be for only fun, but it's only going to be used for treatment of PTSD, which I think is a very valuable tool for virtual reality. But there's one thing that Katsui on Twitch actually mentioned, and he said that a tool that tricks a very important part of the brain is not something I would like to dabble in without prolonged tests on how do they know it won't cause any damage.
Yeah, like possible side effects. Like if you're messing with that signal, maybe it will cause some sort of side effect. Maybe you become superhuman and you'll never feel motion sick ever again.
I was like that signal. You confuse the brain, but it's like, the signal is still there. So is it gonna save up somewhere, or where is it going? Where is it going?
You confuse the vestibular part of your ear. It's your inner ear that you. So the signals going to your brain are disrupted or wrong. I don't know how the tech works, but
and the thing is, if you get poisoned, you're going to be screwed. You won't be able to throw it up. Dead. So that's the downside of that system.
I'll take 2.
Yeah, but anyway, obviously we don't know
food poisoning can't hurt me.
We don't know when this is coming. It's just something that's being developed right now. Like I said, for military applications, but who knows? Something like this might be built into a headset in the future, might help us out, or we may not need it at all. Who knows?
You can still eat ginger too, right? Is that
exactly? Yeah, I recommend ginger ale. Yeah, for sure. It's still something I'd recommend. Definitely. So let's move on to our final topic now, because we're running a little bit late, but we do this now, so there we go. It's what we're excited about in 2019, and there's loads to be excited about in 2019. So let's talk about some of the things that we're excited about, and also things that are on our wish list as well. So if we could have our dream happening in 2019, what would it be? So let's start with the hardware first, because as we know, we're all super hyped about the Oculus Quest. That's going to be coming in spring, no doubt, launching likely at F8, which is the yearly Facebook conference in San Jose, and that takes place at the end of April, beginning of May. So that's definitely one thing to look forward to. We've got the Vive Focus with their official 6 Degrees of Freedom controller add-ons. So it's like a little clip-on mask that you put on the headset, and then they've got their own proprietary 6 Degrees of Freedom controllers as well. So that's super interesting, I think. Another sort of step forward in terms of a standalone headset delivering everything in one package. We've got exactly the same with Google Daydream as well, developing their own 6 Degrees of Freedom controllers, which is super interesting as well. So it kind of seems like we might have 3 competitors in the mix when it comes to a standalone 6 Degrees of Freedom headset.
That's good.
And then, of course, that's what we know is happening. We don't know anything concrete in terms of like a new Rift or a new headset from HTC or a PSVR 2 or the Valve HMD. But what would be the one thing that you wish for in 2019 in terms of hardware, each of you?
Easy. I'll jump in there because I've got it off the top of my head. Haptic anything, more than the current offering from one of the main platforms. So,
right, like an in-house developed vest or something, or suit from Oculus or HTC or whatever. That's
supported by their SDK in a way that intelligently interprets games, so that it's kind of like there's an API that's used with it, and it's a mainstay affair. Because I think it's so important that it needs to be at some point adopted by the main players, not just be a bolt-on that runs off of low frequencies. It needs to be something that can be codified for.
I like that.
I would like to. Okay. I would like to see something that I've already seen a prototype of before, but it wasn't working properly, probably yet. But that's. I don't know if you guys actually saw that video where they use certain kind of gloves, where the feedback, so it goes a little bit further haptics. on the haptic. So if you grab something, it will actually physically lock in place, so you can't grab more, and that would eliminate the need for any other kind of controller, because that would ultimately be the ultimate controller, because it's your hands, it's your actual hands, and everything in the virtual world you touch has a certain dimension that you can grab, and it will lock in place to that dimension if it's a wall, or if it's a or a rock or a stick. So that in terms of hardware, if something like that could hit, that would be awesome.
Nice. What about you then, Nathan?
No, I agree on the haptics, but on the other side, it's kind of early. We're still like figuring out what hardware people want to get or are willing to get. I think like some maybe some add-ons, like what PlayStation did with the PS Move. Something on the PC side would be nice. And if that's Oculus or HTC or someone else selling that. And then not in a way where you need to put a tracker on your gun or your racket, but just something that just works out of the box, and it maybe works with a few games like on the PlayStation, but it's still great to have that. So
you mean like the aim controller? Is that what you're talking about?
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Those peripherals are really
like
powerful.
Some fun gadgets you can buy with it,
Yeah, official ones, you mean?
Yeah.
You inspired me, Nathan. I'm actually thinking that there was an aftermarket company that did this a couple of years ago with the original iToy. that you'd have a little filter that would actually expand the sight area for the current camera, so that people could, in a smaller environment, play with the camera with better tracking. That would be nice.
You're right. Like some minor improvements that can make your headset more fun. Maybe Oculus selling some like something you can put on your desk to put your controllers on, or I don't know, like an extender for your cables. I mean, there's so many things that other people now make that you can just 3D print, but something branded would be nice. Like imagine having a headset stand with some LEDs in there. I mean, people would love to have that, but the market is maybe too small for that. Last but not least, wireless VR, more wireless VR. Right now, the Vive is the only one that is really nailed that system, and it's solid. I would love to see something for the Rift, and I don't know, like PlayStation wireless. I don't know if that's possible, but some more wireless. I love wireless. It's still not a must. I think cables are fine. It's not, but some more gadgets.
I see some people in the chat saying that they want more resolution. I find it funny that none of us have said that yet, because I mean, for me as well, it's not really a top priority to see a resolution increase. There are other things that come to mind that I would like to see, like multiple things actually, before like a resolution increase. Because I think it's actually quite nice.
Actually, no, wait. Before I say anything more, Mike, your turn.
I touched on it at the beginning, and that's a PSVR 2. I'd love to see a second generation PSVR. I know we got a little minor update to the headset, but I'd love to see a second gen with full room scale tracking. I think that would be legit mind-blowing. Also, I'd love to see Xbox throw their hat into the ring and step up to the plate with PSVR in terms of the console market. And obviously the Valve HMD as well. I'm super intrigued about that, and I think that could be a game changer for the market as well. So there's definitely things on the horizon.
It's like 3 different platforms, Mike. That's a long Christmas list there.
I want many things. Yeah, that's true.
I was going to say the last thing that I want is an official shipped in the box, I don't care if it's 3D printed or whatever, screen protector and controller holder for the Oculus Go. I want the Oculus Go to launch like this protector that comes in the box with the thing. It's only going to cost them cents on the dollar to actually put that thing in there, and it works better along with their recently released container for the Go as well. Yeah.
I've actually recently bought a 3D printer, Zim, so maybe I'll treat you to it.
What'd you get?
It's coming soon, actually. It's not delivered yet. I think it's called the what is it called? The Anycube i3 Mega or something like that.
Mega.
Wow. But I'm going to be printing some stuff, so I'll be sending you boys some stuff in the post. Little 3D print.
Can you print a tinfoil hat for me, please?
I will.
Cool. Can you 3D print me a 3D printer?
I could print you some 3D printer parts, like a rep wrap, maybe get you started.
Frankly, the coolest thing before we get off 3D printers, the coolest thing in 3D printing is the fact that you can 3D print food. Like there are food printers, which is the closest thing to that whole Star Trek like fabricator, which would be awesome to be able to print a burger someday.
You can print a steak. I've seen people printing steaks. It's crazy. But yeah, let's talk about AR then, because there's a few AR things that we're excited about as well. We know that Harry Potter Wizards Unite AR is coming. Whether or not it'll be as popular as Pokemon Go, we don't really know, but my wife certainly is super excited about it. Wizards going to be running around the streets collecting magic and throwing their wands around.
There are not many people here in Scotland running around playing Pokemon Go in the winter, I'm telling you. I was thinking that driving home
today. Hibernate in the winter, like the Pokemon. Yeah. Nope. We've got the Leap Motion Project North Star. I think that's super exciting. We haven't really touched on it since it kind of released, but it's been open source now for a little while, so lots of developers are jumping on it. And to give you a little bit of a teaser, that's partly why I bought a 3D printer, is to kind of get a bit more involved in that. I'm kind of tempted to build my own headset, so maybe I can talk about that more in the future. Magic Leap, of course, we had that launch this year. Again, a lot more developers jumping in on that bandwagon. And maybe we'll see a HoloLens 2. I think that would be my wish list in terms of AR. HoloLens increasing what they've already built and sort of improving on it and stepping toe-to-toe with Magic Leap, because competition is always good, like we've discussed before. Anything AR you're excited about? for 2019?
Yeah, there's I'm getting my head mixed up now, but I think it was called something North. There's a pair of glasses that are really simple. They're from a Canadian-based firm. I can't remember the name of them now, which is just like almost like a set of Ray-Bans with very simple.
Oh, I think we talked about these.
There's
Yeah.
like 2 brick and mortar stores, one in Canada, one in the US. And yeah, we talked about them a couple of podcasts ago, maybe 10, 12 podcasts back. Have to pick up the name. I can't remember it now. Maybe chat will be able to help remind
Can't
me.
remember either. Yeah.
Yeah, it was some simple, like, it was just like North or something like that. It was some simple
But it gives
brand
you simple,
Focus or something like that.
overlay when you're walking down the street, like information on like historical
remember that.
Simple info.
buildings and things
Yeah,
like that.
not like crazy things, not like 3D, just like contextual information as you're walking. I'd love to try some of those out, to be honest, and just see how that would affect your life. Also, as somebody who doesn't wear glasses normally, would I like have nose bridge ache or whatever it is that glasses wearers have? Sorry, guys, I don't have that experience myself.
So what about you other guys? You got any AR things you're excited about?
Not really me at this
No?
point, because I see AR more as like something that I would use for work.
Yeah.
More in that way rather than what I'm doing with the channel and doing here. It's more like
Yeah.
But,
I'd love to try out some Magic Leap games and try and record them in a way. I'd love to do that. I have to speak to my friends over at Imaginarium in London. Maybe they can help me out with that. But
Do we know when the Lego stuff is launching? Because as somebody with kids and somebody who loves AR stuff, I'd love to try that kind of the official AR stuff that we saw. When was that? There was a show that
wasn't that Apple?
Apple.
that was Apple, yeah. So that would be super exciting. Yeah, I completely forgot about that one. It's a nice one for remembering. Yeah, but that would be legitimately exciting for
And
AR.
just to cover that, because people who haven't seen it, so you can have your physical Lego playset in front of you, and then you can augment it through AR, and you can kind of come along and you can actually see what's happening inside a house that you built or all that kind of stuff. It's kind of like an X-ray vision, and you can build another house next to it that's completely virtual, and it'll remember that it's there, and so that'd be fun with kids to do, I think.
For sure. So I'm going to run through some games on different platforms that are coming out, that we know are coming out in 2019. So while I reel them off, maybe you can think of one that isn't coming out that we know of, but that you would love to be on this platform. So give you some time
I had
to
such
think.
a great one, but you're already going to name it. Damn it.
Let's see. So for PCVR games, we've got Fisherman's Tale, obviously coming out at the end of the month. We've got Defector, which is the spy game from Twisted Pixel, which looks super slick and looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. We've got Stormland from Insomniac Games, which is obviously the sort of the co-op adventure one that you could go on like raids together, which looks like a lot of fun, or play it single player as well. That one looks really great. We've got the unknown title from Respawn that previously made Titanfall. I'm sure we'll find out what that is this year. Please. I'm dying to find out what that's going to be. We've got Espire 1, which is that kind of like espionage robot game. You control like a robot remotely that is like infiltrating enemy bases. It looks really, really fun. Lone Echo 2, of course.
There it was.
Population 1, which is going to be, the new VR spin on the Battle Royale genre. I know Rec Room have done a great job with it so far, but this one looks really interesting and has been in development by the same team that brought you that Smashbox Arena game, so it looks really fun. Space Junkies will likely finally be released after all its time in early access and beta testing.
Okay.
Vacation Simulator, of course, everyone loves Job Simulator, so now we get to Vacation 2. Wolfenstein Cyberpilot, and I know this got a lot of criticism in the early days, and I was one that also gave it some criticism, but it'll be interesting to see if they took a lot of that criticism on board and sort of molded this game into something really interesting in the Wolfenstein universe. I'd be super excited to check that one out. So they're the ones we know of that are coming for PC. So what about one that you would love to come to PC? It could be a sequel, could be a brand new genre. What would you like to see?
Brand new genre.
Go on,
One that I've mentioned already multiple times.
Yeah.
I want the Jurassic Park ride in the Jeep in virtual reality. That's what I want. Just watching dinosaurs. Not gonna eat them, Laney.
And feed them.
Okay.
I want to add that to that. That could be.
Yeah, with like the cow that goes into like the thing.
Yeah.
The goat.
Oh my god.
Yes.
I want to see all of that.
I like that.
Okay. So what about your other guys? What about the chat as well? I'd love to know their thoughts.
Broken heart.
Yeah, please let us know.
I've seen the chat. I've already seen Far Cry appear. People are
Okay,
excited
Far
for
Cry, yeah.
Stormland, Defector, a Bethesda fantasy game coded from the ground up for VR. So he wants Skyrim, but not Skyrim.
So you got any ideas?
The other one, I think it's set to come in next year. I don't know when it's going to land. Is Firmament, the follow-up to Abduction.
Okay, yeah.
Which Abduction blew me away. I was like, oh my god, I didn't realize a puzzle game could be this freaking hard, and this gorgeous at the same time. So it was kind of like going back into Myst, which I missed when I was a kid. You know, I never got a chance to play Myst. But the game that I was going to pick, you guys are going to kick me for saying this because of what I said earlier, but because it's a Valve title, Left 4 Dead 3 in VR. That's what I want.
Yeah.
I've wanted it since the second I pre-ordered my Vive. I still want it. Valve, if you're listening, please, I know you're working on it. Just put it out when it's ready. That's all I ask. It doesn't have to be next year.
I just read the chat and I thought but the guy was still talking about AR, but I saw that he said IKEA, and I was like, IKEA's making a VR game? Like,
yeah. They've already made 2.
They made some stuff.
It's weird. It's weird.
So what about you, Nate? Do you like Bioshock in VR?
I do see in the chat Paradise Zeke is saying like Halo or a Terminator VR game. I think Halo could be a very good option, but I think if Xbox comes to the game, then that would be something they have to play around with. But yeah, of course, Bioshock.
We already have Halo in VR.
Yeah.
Recruit.
Yeah, kinda. But I don't know. I think Bioshock as a VR experience would be fun if you play as a maybe a Big Daddy. I think it's kind of awesome to be some kind of monstrous thing, dangerous, or just be playing around with the plasmids. But you can also do that as a Big Daddy. But I don't know
for like fans and stuff. But
like,
in terms of like what kind of genres would we actually like to see?
I was gonna say
I would be actually really interested in seeing like, for example, like a real-time strategy game where you can actually go into the characters and play as like one of the heroes, for example, for a certain moment, and go back out and go in and send your troops and stuff like that.
Command and Conquer did that a while ago, but it was a dreadful game.
Yeah, game design wise, it's hard. I mean, I can see I'm there too with you, Rowdy. I want that dream. You know what I want? If we were going to do an RTS, I would want Company of Heroes done for VR. I don't the same way that we had with Out of Ammo, where you had the ability to be above the battlefield or be one of the people. They could do that. So similar to what you're saying in terms of real-time strategy, do Company of Heroes. I don't know if you ever played it, but bloody fantastic World War II sim. It was really, really good. Someone else has said, we've had Rebellion has said black and white VR.
White VR, yeah.
What? Wow, my creature's just flinging poo. That's definitely what I want.
I think what I would love to see is something multiplayer, something big, something open world, but almost like not what they did with Fallout 76, obviously, but the idea of that is something I freaking like a lot, where you build something together, you log into a server from time to time, like I did with Ark when it came out. I was like, hey guys, see you tomorrow. I gotta get out of my bed in the morning because I don't know what's happening in the meanwhile. Like something you really want to be a part of, something you want to build up, and it takes a while and it's going slow, and you something like that.
Almost like something like World of Warcraft, but like VR, but something
like something progression wise that is so addicting that you need to grind, but you don't have to, but you can join up with others, share and socialize. I mean, that stuff, and that's the main core of every addicting multiplayer game, I would say.
Remember I mentioned Atlas the other day. Like a buddy of mine is going heavy into Atlas, which has that throwaway VR mode tacked onto it or whatever. But like that's the kind of experience where like you could spend 150 hours with other people building a ship, a galleon that goes off, and then you've got your cannons laid out and you're on deck with the ship. Like the ideas are there. Someone needs to implement it, and the trouble is, are there consumer dollars behind it to buy into that, to make it successful, to keep it afloat? And I think it's still a tough market for that kind of game, for what you're asking for, Nathan.
Is it possible right now? I don't think so. I don't think so. You sometimes see it happen, like, for example, War Dust. You can say whatever you want about it, but it kind of gets the idea. Yeah. But the thing is, they also know that they cannot finish this game. They cannot polish it to a point where, so it's too ambitious for its time.
But there was that game Nostos that is doing exactly that, like that multiplayer, persistent online world, that kind of thing. So that is coming soon.
But what Nathan's talking about as well, like I used to have that, for instance, with the Minecraft community, where you go on and you'd be working together like for hours and hours and just from scratch, and what you built mattered.
Yeah, it's value to you.
And there was persistence in that. And even if it was only value to you and your friends or whoever you had on there, like it was value. And so I'd love to see that come out again. You know what I'd love? I'd love to see Notch, the guy who made Minecraft, make something for VR. Anything. He's done a whole bunch of different little titles. I'd love him to try it.
Yeah. So the one thing that I really, really want that is way simpler than what you guys want, and I'm surprised hasn't happened already, is a sequel to Superhot. Like, why isn't there been a Superhot 2? I have no idea.
Replatforming. That's why. It's taking their dev time to replatform.
Maybe. But that's the game that I would like to see.
They need to come up with something new too.
My Jurassic Park ride is a lot easier than making Superhot 2. Yeah. Super cool.
So one game that I keep on like seeing on the internet that never came out, and that's like maybe it did come out and I just never noticed. Like Golem for PSVR.
It's coming.
Still coming.
Yeah.
That's something they have been advertising since this headset came out. And every time I see it, it's like, does it still...
Wait, Lord of the Rings?
No.
Oh.
Almost like Shadow of the Colossus style game.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Dreams. Dreams is also one that is still, like, it's always,
Dreams are good.
Going with the waves.
I like them as a pendulum. They try all these different like markets. They're a bit like Servios that way.
No, like Dreams. Dreams is the game Dreams.
Oh, I don't know the game Dreams.
Not End Dreams, the studio.
I definitely got confused there.
But in terms of like PSVR games, the other games that we've got that we know that are coming are Trover Saves the Universe, which looks like a ton of fun.
That's
from
fun.
the same team that brought you Rick and Morty. It's going to be brilliant. We've got Falcon Age, which looks really interesting, where you've got control of a falcon. That looks really nice. Graphically, it looks really nice. We've got Ghost Giant, which kind of gave me Moss vibes, where you can look after that little dude and save his village and try and turn things around. You've got Ace Combat, which is obviously the flight simulator. And then my one that I'm really looking forward to on the PSVR is Blood and Truth. Kind of like a gritty London gang sort of game. That looks like really cool. I'm really looking forward to that. And then in terms of Quest, we know obviously that the Climb, Dead and Buried are all coming out. Vader Immortal, Facial Fears 2, and the tennis game Tennis Smash. But we still don't have Beat Saber confirmed on coming to Quest. I still am baffled by that. So hopefully we get confirmation of that sometime over the next few months.
It's going to be a good year, though.
It's going to be a big year for VR, I think. But yeah, let us know what you think in the chat, what games you're looking forward to the most in 2019, whether it's been confirmed or whether it's something you just want to happen, whilst I round up the show times because we're sort of running a little bit late. So just a reminder, it's a weekly VR, AR, and MR talk show, live streamed every Saturday on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. You can tune into the show live at 7 p.m. in Europe, 6 p.m. in the UK, and 12 midday in Central US. Check out the audio version on iTunes, SoundCloud, and on Anchor. If you leave us a review on those platforms, that would really help us out, or subscribe to our YouTube channel. We would love you forever.
We're nearly at 1,000
subs. Almost.
We're nearly to our goal.
Almost? Yeah.
Well, 920 odd. So 80 more.
That's...
I have...
We got 92 people watching right now, so click the button, guys. For those of you who haven't.
I have €5 here. Who wants to subscribe for?
Well, we're buying
so that's how
now.
desperate we are.
Yeah. If you send me that €5.
Before we answer a question, just to sort of give you a sneak peek of next week's episode, we're going to be talking about the fresh scoops from CES, of course, because next week is a huge week for us. There's going to be loads of tech news from CES, which is the Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas. So it's going to be starting on Monday, so keep your eyes tuned on all the VR news outlets that you like to follow, and we'll be wrapping it all up next Saturday. So
there's a few things here in chat.
1989. Pixel Rip 1989 is now also confirmed for the Quest.
That's what someone said.
Excellent.
In the chat,
that should work well.
Also, when I mentioned Rec Room to Against Gravity for the Quest, they were just doing a winky face. So that's enough, I would say.
It's funny that you mentioned winking faces because SBVR said that he asked Linus if VR was dead and he winked at him as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
The
Did
only
he
thing,
also
other thing I'm just going to
bury
add
Did he
here.
also hide his comment, or he allowed that one?
Yeah, funny.
I'm just going to say, so someone was also, Ket was saying GTA 5 in VR and Super Mario as well, looking for things like that in terms of
Super Mario, yeah.
So.
Something retro is always welcome. Yeah.
Someone else has said HTC's haptic glove.
Last but not least, this is a sign that we should stop the show. Blockbuster Store Simulator.
The nostalgia.
Imagine like a multiplayer where you can I'm going to Mike. It's like, hey, I want to rent this movie. Have you ever watched it?
We're just talking about
can you
movies in
tell-
the Blockbuster store.
Yeah, can you
That
tell
should
me?
be a thing. That should be a
Yes.
thing. I'd hang out in there. I love
Oh
talking about
yeah,
movies.
yeah.
I never will get the opportunity to take one of the things off of my childhood bucket list, which was go into the adult section in a Blockbuster. They shut the chain before I got of the age.
Someone make that possible.
This should
for
be
us.
an extension of the Netflix app where you have like the Netflix app, but you can go in there in this store of Netflix together with a friend and pick your movie before you go into the cinema. Yeah.
God, what a
Well,
day!
there
Do you
you
guys
go.
remember that? Going and picking up VHS tapes? God, it's so dated, right? Bloody hell!
Amazing times.
What are
amazing
those?
times.
Thank God we've got VR, Lay.
And the
Yes.
little drop bin, you didn't actually physically have to go back into the store. You could just post it through the little letterbox. It was genius.
I
That was
feel very
technology.
disconnected now.
Right. So let's wrap this one up. I hope you guys and girls have enjoyed this show. Sorry we've kind of dragged on a little bit, but we have so much to talk about sometimes that we just can't help ourselves,
No.
especially when we get triggered about Valve stuff. So apologies if it's dragged on, but I hope you've enjoyed it nevertheless. And we'll be back next week, of course, with the CES news for you all. So have a great week in VR, and we'll see you next Saturday at the usual time to talk about some more. So until then, bye-bye for now.
Out.
Bye.